Welcome to the Thyroid Fixer podcast, where we dive deep into the world of thyroid and hormones, especially for you ladies navigating perimenopause and menopause, and really for anyone struggling with hypothyroidism. I'm your host, Dr. Amy, thyroid and hormone specialist and CEO of a global telemedicine practice where we prescribe the right thyroid treatment and bioidentical hormones to all 50 states and most of Canada, helping you become that badass human that you're meant to be. So if you're battling weight gain and hair loss, you can't lose weight no matter what you do, your energy levels are plummeting and your libido left town, then you're in the right place and you have found your tribe. Remember, I want you to embrace every inch of that badass woman that you truly are. So if you're ready to dive in and fix things, let's get started. You know, I am so passionate about giving you information that you can implement to actually change your life, change your body, fix your thyroid, fix your hormones. So that is why I am doing, for the first time ever, a Fix Your Thyroid Masterclass. Time to break free from the fatigue and the fat that we're dealing with and that we're so frustrated with. So I want you to attend live. I want you to be there live. We are going to go over so many things. The TSH trap, what doctors should test and they don't test, even integrative and functional practitioners, how they're treating or how they're scamming you, these thyroid detoxes out there, what supplements you really should be using. We're going to give you real answers, and we're going to end with a live Q&A with me. So that's why you have to be there live. We are doing this in September. So click the link below. It'll have all of the information, the dates, the times, the sign up info. Go to fixyourthyroid.com and you'll find it there. You'll find the details. I want you there. I want you signed up. I want to see you in the meeting. And I want you asking your questions and taking notes. Let's do this together to get you to the next level. Fixyourthyroid.com. We're all trying so hard to get our protein intake up because you hear me say it, you hear other experts say it. You need 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. But here's the problem. Really hard to eat that much. And the protein powders on the market, oh my gosh, so many of them just taste bad, or they bloat you, or worst case, they actually make you gain weight because they're jacking up your insulin. Not a fan of whey protein. I'm not a fan of plant-based protein. I love bone broth-based, collagen-based protein powders, but a lot of them taste like you're eating meat. And who wants that? So enter Power Protein Fixer. This protein powder is amazing. So number 1, it blends like a milkshake. It gets nice and thick. Whether you're doing vanilla or chocolate, you're going to feel like you're drinking a chocolate milkshake or a vanilla milkshake. If you leave it sit, it poofs up and becomes a mousse. If you blend it with a lot of ice and some nut milk or even water, it will become an ice cream. You cannot beat the taste of this protein. I won't use anything else. I'll use 2, 3, 4 scoops a day to get my protein levels up. So I'm going to challenge you to try it, put it up against any protein on the shelf, and you will always, always come back to Power Protein Fixer. So I was at Hack Your Health in Austin, and we had a booth and I spoke. So I'm talking to people on my feet all day. If any of you have ever been at a conference and stood on a concrete floor and talk to people with really, I mean, you're dehydrated, you're not drinking water, you're barely eating, your legs hurt, your feet hurt, your back hurts, your head hurts, your mind hurts, everything hurts when you're at a conference. I love it because I love interacting with people, but man, it takes a toll on the body. So day 2 or day 3 of the conference, I finally get a chance to walk around and see what are the other vendors there, what are the other businesses there. I'd like to see for myself, right? And I come across this row of mats on massage tables. I'm like, well, this looks interesting. And if anything, I'm just going to lay down so I can get off my feet. And I was just happy about that. And the company is called Align Mat. And I go up and I start talking to Alyssa, who you'll hear from in a moment, but I'm telling the story first. And she's telling me about the mat. She goes, well, you can try it out. So I lay down. I'm like, all right, I got like 10, 15 minutes max. I got to get back to the booth. So she puts a setting. I don't even know what setting you use, girl, but she puts a setting on, and I kid you not, in 10 minutes, I am refreshed. My body no longer hurts. It is literally amazing. Now, I've heard about PEMF, and I'm sure you have too, but this is different. And this is what we're going to get into, because I really wanted to talk about this on the podcast, because I think this mat can really be a game changer for so many people. And I will get into my experience now that I have one at home and using it daily. I'll get into that. I'm going to save that. So y'all keep listening. Like, what's Dr. Amy's experience? I'll tell you. But first, I want to introduce you to my guest, Alyssa Blue. And we're going to hear her story, and you're going to hear all about the Align mat, but just stay tuned. I mean, just stay tuned. This is not another pitch for a product. This is me bringing you something that could be game changing to your body, to your life, to your mind, to your health. I am not even kidding you. So, Alyssa, thank you for coming on today to be able to explain Align mat better, because I'm not going to do it justice. If it was just a solo episode with me describing it, I would butcher it. So I needed to bring you on.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's my honor to be here and sharing this with your audience.
So, all right, first of all, you were an aerospace engineer. Is that correct? Is that your background?
Yes, ma'am. It seems like lifetimes ago, but yeah, that's kind of where my story began, because I worked my entire childhood to get into this career field, basically, being told you're good at math and science, falling in love with Top Gun and planes. And about a year in, I got super sick. I had my own healing crisis in my early 20s, and that sent me on another decades-long journey to do the work that my husband and I do today.
What was going on? What symptoms were you having, and what did it end up being, and how'd you get there?
So I call myself a recovering type A. So I definitely, my claim to fame was like, I wouldn't sleep and I would just work and try and get everything that I could done. And in my aerospace job, I was competing in fitness competitions. Like, I was literally burning the candle at both ends. I had already had chronic gut issues my entire life as a nationally competitive gymnast, which was like, oh, you're lactose intolerant. Oh, you have IBS. Oh, it's stress. Just deal with it. That's what I was told. And then the first major health symptom was I got jaundice, and my bilirubin level was sky high. My skin and my eyes were yellow. I was actually on a work trip at the time, and they're like, you can't fly. Like, we need to figure out what's going on with your liver before we can put you back. And I'm like, I don't even drink. Like, this is like, I'm what I thought was super clean, looked like the epitome of health. So these doctors are like, well, we can't figure out what's going on with you. Fast forward a couple months later. So the symptoms, like the liver gets better. So, quote unquote, gets better. I'm not yellow anymore.
Yeah.
But when I'm starting to have, out of nowhere, I'm at my desk, actually, chronic severe migraine headaches. I've never had migraines in my life before, so I didn't know what to experience. It's just like this intense pain. The lights were burning my eyes. It was so bad, visually, like I was vomiting till there was nothing left in my body. And my boss is bringing me to the hospital with paralysis. Like, I was losing limb function. So it was really scary stuff, where the neurologists, I had 3 at the end of all of this. It's happened in a month's time frame. It ramped up really fast. They came on super sudden, and nothing was really predictable. They were looking for tumors in my head, blocked ventricles in my neck, and nothing was coming up explainable by medical science. So I don't consider myself very intuitive. I'm more on the logic side, and my husband, Mike, is the intuit in the family. But it was the first time in my life I heard, if you don't get out of here, you're going to die here. So I took a family medical leave of absence, and I literally packed up my life. And every mile that I drove away, I was in Salt Lake City at the time. It was literally like a veil was being lifted off of me, just this weight. I was coming back to life, and I can't explain it. If you've never experienced anything like this before, but it's all of my symptoms were resolving as I was leaving.
God. So was it, do you look back, do you think it was the house you were in, the town? I've always heard that Salt Lake it settles, you have smog that just settles in the valley. Do you think it was that?
So in my early 20s, I'm looking at, again, as a very logical, science-based person, I'm like, okay, there's millions of pounds of weaponry. I was working on an Air Force base. So I was working hand in hand alongside. I was a civilian hire working alongside military. So I'm like, okay, maybe these are old barracks that they turn into offices. So lead paint, is there asbestos? All of the things that you could possibly check off that would be chemical based, which I'm sure there was a component of that. I was living in an older building that they had refurbished. It actually was an electrical plant that they turned into these beautiful studio lofts in downtown Salt Lake. So I'm looking for all of the possible answers, but looking back now at the subset of my journey, and actually being a firm believer that we are orchestrating this this reality where we have a purpose to be on this planet. And I didn't believe this back then. I actually didn't even know what that meant. I know that I was living out of alignment with my purpose, that I'm here to help people and not design things that are here to create war, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. No, I do believe that the body gives you signals when you are not in alignment, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, a career, 100%. So that makes sense to me. I'm a little bit like your husband that yeah, I'm kind of right in between you and he is. The logic, the science, love it. But sometimes our bodies give us signals. It really does. So, okay. So now you're driving away. The veil is lifting, symptoms are improving, but now what is the next step in your life? What'd you do?
I mean, I'm a researcher at heart. So I mean, literally, I started, it wasn't even till a couple of years after that I started teaching multiple modalities of fitness. So that was kind of like my start in the health and wellness field. So I was already working out. I was competing in fitness competitions, I mentioned. I do claim a lot of like the diet that the trainers told me to consume was really breaking down my health. Like all of these synthetic protein supplements from factory farmed animals, that all of that is chemicals, contamination, pathogenic, like so much that I've learned on this journey, that things that I thought I was doing for my own health are actually at my detriment.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
that's the logical, not just like spiritual. Like there's definitively a blending of both things that I was doing that were absolutely detrimental to myself. Not sleeping, my circadian rhythm was off. So that was affecting my hormones. So all things considered. But I went down this rabbit hole that has spanned. I mean, I'm a forever student, right? So I never stopped learning. But the bulk of the 10 years, from my early 20s until my early 30s, when I finally got my FDN certification. So I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
That was really like the icing on the cake for me to have like this entire holistic view of how the body actually works, and really being able to see it, giving the body a voice with functional lab testing. Like me and my diagnostic mind, and I love to research and science, it all just made so much sense, not only for my own personal health, which I've gotten exponentially healthier, have more energy, less fatigue, I'm stronger, like all of these things in my 30s now. I feel better than I did in the subset of like my childhood, even being like a nationally competitive gymnast, beating the crap out of my body. Had I had this knowledge back then, had my trainers had this knowledge, I would have possibly made it to the Olympics at very least, having a collegiate scholarship, being a gymnast. So yeah, that's really what it has looked like for me over the last 10 years. I was really blessed with the time to dive into research. It started for me with summits, learning from the best of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that's how we get pulled in, and going through our own health crisis. I mean, all day long. I can't remember whether we talked about this when we first met or not, but I also used to compete in figure competitions, fitness and figure. And yeah, you're right. I mean, way long before you did, but the diet remains the same. The rigorous exercise beats the crap out of your body. I mean, if you don't have a problem going in, you're probably going to have a problem coming out the other side, whether it's thyroid dysfunction or hormone imbalance or irregular cycles, amenorrhea, just an eating disorder in general, body dysmorphia. I mean, there's a lot that comes with that type of training that, to your point, really takes its toll on the body. So you started young beating yourself up in gymnastics, and then you just kept going through your 20s into your 30s, and it's going to show up. Yeah.
Yeah, it was literally, I mean, I started gymnastics at 4 years old. It is just this conditioning that I knew, the level of discipline that I had. And it was also became a meditation for me, like movement. So I was kind of looking at it in my early 20s as an escape for me. So I'd go work out hard. Where, I mean, for anyone that's listening that might be in that place and space, like the level of comparison that you have when you're competing, instead of just doing this for yourself, if you can shift the focus and realize, like, do something that makes you feel better, I feel like that's like an amazing piece of advice. And the fact that people think like no pain, no gain, or you have to work harder. Like I am leaner, more striated now. I have flexibility in my diet. I work out less and I look better now. It's amazing.
I know. No, I've been saying that forever. I'm 50. And I look better than I did in my 20s all day long. I can eat more. I'm more muscular. I mean, we were just, I don't know if you did 2-a-day cardios, but we were just burning our muscle off. It was just crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Sacrificing sleep, crushing the adrenals. Yeah. All of these things that, again, they were just conditioned. You didn't even question it. And it's like, that's not how the body heals. That's not how the body repairs. It wants to
Mhm.
be nourished, and then it'll take care of us.
Yeah. And for the listeners too, okay, yeah, we're talking about kind of an extreme sport, so to speak, but how many of us, especially women, do this to ourselves because we want to lose that 10 or 20 pounds? So we undereat and over exercise and stay up late and work harder. To your story of being a young athlete, how many kids are in sports these days and they're driving their adrenals and their poor little bodies into the ground because of the competitiveness of sports, especially at a very young age? It seems to have increased even since I was young. So, this whole topic and this whole conversation that we're having today can really apply from young kiddos all the way up to, 70, 80, 90, whenever, however old you get, right? I mean, it really kind of spans all people, all genders, all ages, because at any point in time in our life, we can be driven into the ground through whatever, maybe our own choice or something that we've just involved ourselves in and it's taking its toll.
I think this is the broader portion of our conversation today, is recovery, which is the biggest aspect. I think what's missing, and not just like an athletic program, but life in general. Like, I can equate it where it didn't make sense to me then, but looking back, like the last year that I competed in gymnastics, I was so injured. I competed my final season before I had shoulder surgery, with literally my shoulder dislocating. So I had to cut down my training from 5 days a week, which is 4 hours a night, sometimes on Saturdays. So I was training 20 to 25 hours a week. And I went down to 2 days, and I made it to nationals because I took care of my body. And I didn't even know what that meant. It just was time off. It was giving myself time to recover and repair. And it just sounds so crazy, especially like, again, this American attitude. I think it really is that we have to like push harder and do more. And that's how you're going to achieve. And it's like, the body doesn't work that way.
Yep, I know. And it's one thing to know it. Like, I know I shouldn't push that hard. I know I need recovery, but to actually do it and implement it and overcome that voice in your head that says, well, if you miss a workout, that's not good. You're going to gain weight. You're going to lose muscle, whatever. I mean, it's such a mental game and a physical game all at the same time.
What the mind believes, the body achieves. And that's where these amazing tools, we have ancient wisdom and modern technology, these tools that we have available to us to help us do this more efficiently. This is a huge portion, I think, of a missing conversation, because still today, so many people don't know what PEMF even is, like the technology we created. If you just ask someone randomly on the street, they're like, what is that?
Well, okay, the perfect transition. That's what I was going to get into next, because even for myself, this is going to be a learning conversation. What is PEMF? So pulse electromagnetic frequency. I've heard about it for years. Of course, all the biohackers talk about it, blah, blah, blah. There's all these pads out, mats out. But what is it? First of all, let's start there.
So it's a pulse that comes out. So if you really wanted to look in like mechanics, so we can like talk science. So you look at like the poles of the earth, like we're walking around on a magnetic surface that's charged. I want to talk about Schumann resonance first and how it relates, because it's super important to the technology. So Schumann resonance is what the earth oscillates at. And it's primarily a hertz frequency that goes from 7 to 10 hertz. And there's this beautiful sweet spot called 7.83 hertz. And it's named after Schumann, which is the gentleman that discovered this in the early 1900s. So it's been studied for over the last 100 years. And it's basically this yummy, delicious frequency that sits right in between like our brain waves of like theta and alpha, where we have like brain and heart coherence in our body. So when we talk about nature, like nature didn't make a mistake. Like this environment that was created for us is like the perfect environment that we need to thrive, to have energy, to sleep better, to have better cognition, to find food. And it's created in harmony with the environment. So Schumann resonance is created from the sun, sending electromagnetic waves to our ionosphere of the earth. And it falls to the earth, I don't say fall, but comes to the earth as lightning. So everywhere on the earth's surface, every moment of every day, there's about 2,000 lightning strikes that happen. So again, it's charging the earth. So if you can imagine, like if you go out into nature and you're forest bathing, or you're on a beautiful hike in the desert, or if you're walking barefoot on a beach, especially when we're off rubber-soled shoes, which disconnects us from the earth's surface, you're going to be connected to this beautiful Schumann resonance. And it's actively discharging electrons. So it's reducing free radical damage in our body. So the things that build inflammation in our body. So it's actively reducing that, and it's actively charging our body.
Okay. So that's why we're told in the morning, go outside, stand in your bare feet on the grass, on the ground, and get kind of reset, basically.
For sure.
Yeah.
So there's different, so we're talking about PEMF now. So there's different frequency levels. So you can be talking about a high intensity magnet, such as an MRI, which operates between 10,000 and 30,000 Gauss. So this is an intensity. When you're talking about the Earth's surface, we're looking at an oscillation between 0.5 and 1 hertz. So you're not like feeling this in the sense that if any one of your listeners have experienced like a pulse machine, which is a high intensity PEMF device, you'll experience like muscle tensing and contractions because that's, again, high intensity. But if you walked on the Earth's surface, you've not really felt any of the magnetic influence at all.
Right.
There's different PEMF devices for different outcomes and results. So the bulk body of research was done by NASA back in the 60s for their astronauts in the vacuum of space. So now they're disconnected from the Schumann resonance of the Earth, and they're not subjected to gravity. So we're trying to force a change on their tissues. So they're actively healing quicker, accelerating that healing response at a cellular level, and actively helping their tissues regenerate so they're not losing muscle mass. So they need higher intensity, different wave forms to actually create that change, because it's like forcing the body to respond. Here on Earth, we are overstimulated in our modern world. So think about, so we leverage in our technology just sine waves. So this beautiful, like think about ripples in a pond, just waves of energy. So we're not trying to force anything. We're trying to realize that everyone in our modern world is so overstimulated. How do we help them relax? So low intensity frequency and different pulse rates. So you get to actually set your hertz to match the nervous system and then bring you back to a place of homeostasis, just like you were walking barefoot on a beach.
Oh my God. And that's exactly what I felt and what I have felt too when I get into my experience of using it daily. But that is what I felt that day that I laid on the mat. Like I was amazed at how drained I was. And I mean, let's even add to that. You're inside under artificial lights. There is no fresh air. It's recirculated air. I mean, you are not exposed to sunlight at all because you're there from 8 a.m. till 5 or 6 p.m. I mean, it is draining AF. I mean, it really is. So for me to be able to lay down and get recharged and reset, it blew me out of the water. It really did. It was amazing.
So happy. Like that's the experience that we want you to have. Like you are literally laying on a human charging pad and it's all shielded from the dirty electricity that you're literally being exposed to. Because let's face it, the lights are an electromagnetic waveform. They're just not the right frequency and waveform that we want. You're standing on concrete foundation, disconnected from that Schumann resonance of the Earth. So it's just really distressing to the body. So when you get to lay on the mat and you're literally wrapped in this bubble of healing frequencies that are harmonizing to our cells, the body's like, yes, please. I'll take that, use it where it needs to go.
Okay. So this is helpful. This helps me understand the PEMF. And I've heard a lot about it, like I said, but I never purchased a PEMF mat. I never used another one before. So I have nothing really to compare it to. But what is the difference between a line mat and all those other PEMF mats out there?
So as a resonant device, we took 2.5 years to do our research and development. And that was super important for us because we wanted to have this level of understanding, not only of what was out there, but every single component we hand chose to put in the mat based upon what we experienced that was working and what wasn't. And the longest portion of our journey was actually sourcing genuine stones.
Talk about the stones, because that's super unique. Yeah.
So 30 pounds of globally sourced crystals. So you can liken, people might think crystals are woo-woo, but just like electrolyte minerals that you consume on a daily basis, they're minerals, right? So whether it's, sodium, potassium, and magnesium that are helping with electrical connections and fluid balance in the body, you're laying on these natural stones that produce negative ions. And what negative ions are, again, we'll liken it to walking barefoot on a beach. It helps reduce free radical damage. So again, releasing inflammation out of the body. And it helps actually, and this is all published research, improve serotonin levels. So that happiness hormone. And this is just from natural stones, because you at 98.6, give or take a percentage point in temperature, are creating radiant heat. So infrared heat of your own, that's interacting with that crystalline structure of those stones. So it's an interaction with you in these natural, I call it ancient wisdom, because it really is. We've known about these stones for thousands of years, and the earth took millions of years under heat and pressure to create them, and they're there for us to utilize for their benefit, our benefit.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I mean, there's literally like channels and layers of different stones of different colors. So all the different stones do different things for the body in conjunction with a PEMF, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is something crazy that I learned about electrolytes that I did not know before. Low sodium diets, when you cut back on your salt, can actually contribute to insulin resistance. So number one, we don't want that. We know that is going to definitely increase our weight. Low potassium status suppresses your growth hormone, your anti-aging hormone. And that even just having low thyroid function disrupts your electrolyte excretion. So, I mean, if your magnesium is low, we know that that's going to interfere with thyroid T4 to T3 conversion. Now you have this whole electrolyte excretion issues that you're pushing out more electrolytes, but you need to keep them in for that conversion. I'm telling you, the data is crazy on the importance of electrolytes. So I use the OG of electrolyte powders, Element. Number one, because they taste absolutely freaking amazing. I want to use probably too many packets in a day, quite honestly, because I keep putting them in my water because they taste that good. But of course, I also know that I'm getting my balance of electrolytes. And in the summer, I need more. Hey, even in the winter, when I'm skiing and snowboarding, I'm sweating that all out. You need more. So if you want to try some of these amazing, just amazing electrolytes and actually feel the difference, I mean, you will feel the difference. You'll feel more energized. You won't cramp up, and you will get better sleep with this as well. I'm telling you, definitely better sleep. Go to drinklmnt.com. So spell out drink, DRINK, LMNT.com/thyroid. And this is going to save you some money. You can get the sample box. You can try all the different flavors. My absolute favorite, just side note, grapefruit and orange. drinklmnt.com/thyroid.
So visually, again, we wanted to create something that was absolutely beautiful, like an art piece as well, because we know if you love looking at it, you'll leave it out and you'll use it more often. So yeah. I want that for our users, because everyone can get benefit every single day, because this is compoundingly beneficial and it's complementary to any other therapeutic modality that they're using. It's complementary to any daily wellness routine. So it's not like there's an upper level limit of utilizing this. And we have different protocols to meet people where they're at, whether they have, 5 minutes in a super busy schedule. We're actually looking at a research study that was published in 21 that you're with 10 minutes once a week. Not that we want people only utilizing their mat 10 minutes once a week, but there's microbiome, positive changes in the microbiome, families and macrobiota. So
well, that's crazy. Yeah. Go into that a little bit more, because so many of my listeners have some kind of gut issue that they're just bombarding their stomach with some supplements, or they're doing some gut healing protocol that they drop thousands on that's not working. So get into more about the gut aspect.
Yeah. So the frequencies themselves at this lower intensity, because they're helping to shift the nervous system. So everyone's walking around in fight and flight. There's a metaphorical tiger chasing us. Unfortunately, the tiger today is traffic, work deadlines, the black mirrors everyone's holding in their pocket that are dinging at us constantly. So these things are all increasing our cortisol levels, and we're wearing this invisible armor to go walk around in Earth with on a daily basis, because we're looking for someone to attack us. Unfortunately, that's how the body responds. So this chemical cascade that's happening when we lay on the mat and the nervous system shifts, this invisible armor comes off. Fluid flows better, energetic connections happen better. When this happens, so let's go to a cellular level, so beyond gut microbiome, at a very physics, like atomic level, everything has a charge. Every single cell in our body is like a little battery cell, and it has voltage. So when you have lower voltage, the body can't perform as well. So it cares about survival, keeping our lungs breathing, heart beating, primary, right? Mm-hmm. But if you hurt your knee and your body has a finite amount of energy, it's taking longer to heal that knee when it's deviating all of these other things for survival. When you're laying on the mat and it's this human charging pad, the mat's a tool, right? It's the infinite wisdom in every single cell of your body that's now saying, hey, I have more energy. That's scanning all of these cells saying, hey, direct it to my knee and go help me heal that. Oh, gut dysbiosis. Let's send more energy there so it can heal and repair. Because every moment of every day, you're creating beautiful, healthy, brand new cells. So I want to give people like that leverage of like hope, like ever since inception, that process is happening. The mat, again, giving your body more energy. When you have more energy, your body can do its processes more efficiently. So it helps you heal yourself faster.
Totally makes sense. Okay. So now I will get into my experience, and then I want to go back to all the different things that this mat can do and all the different frequencies. Because you sent me a frequency list, and I used the one for muscle tightness, muscle stiffness, because I got to tell you, the other night, oh my gosh, I thought, here we go again. My back went out again. I have scoliosis. It went out really badly when we moved. And to the point where I had to take muscle relaxers and pain pills, and was going to the chiropractor every day. And just doing all the things. And I got that same feeling. I was like, oh no, I can't get into that cycle again, not again. And so I went to the frequency list and I found the frequency for muscle, and I put that on. And how I use my mat, I put it on the couch. So I love my chaise part of the couch, like the long, so I get to stretch out. So I just put it right there. And I lay on it every night because I love watching Netflix. That's how I wind down. So I'll put on the different frequencies as I'm laying there, and I put that on, and I kid you not, I got up and I was like, pain-free, free. Like, not like, oh, well, it decreased it by like 20% and I still had to take a muscle relaxer. I was pain-free, took care of it. Now I was on it for like an hour. I think I ran that program and a couple others, but totally pain-free. The other thing that I noticed, so like I said, I use it nightly, and I'll run through the different programs, but I'll always end on like the relaxation and sleep. My sleep has gotten better. I am totally reset. Definitely have been some stressful days, last couple of weeks. And using that at the end of the day, it literally is pushing that reset button. It's like, I can't explain it. I can just tell you my experience and how I feel. It literally is like pushing that reset button. Now, everything that you just said today, now I've also learned kind of the why behind it and what it's doing internally with the free radicals, with resetting my cells, with basically giving me that grounding experience without me having to go outside and stand there or lay in the grass. And it's just been amazing. So yeah, that's my experience. I guess you can expand on that a little bit as to why I feel so good.
I love it. It makes me so happy. And this is like the reason why we love doing what we do so much, because everyone is like a bio individual being, like everyone's story is different. I had no idea you had scoliosis. I share in that same affliction as well. And I've thrown my back out many times, and recently moving, I did the same thing. So having the ability to have a tool now that helps accelerate my healing response, and so grateful to hear that yours as well. This is why we created this. Like, Mike and I are both practitioners, and we have seen day in and day out in our practice, like, hey, we tell people to go outside and get barefoot and go get grounded. It's free. Yeah. And no one would do it. I don't have time. I'm too busy. I have the kids.
It's true.
Whatever.
It
we
is.
all make excuses, and we're guilty of this too. And I've seen this, like, we're in a moving process right now, as you know, and it's like, if things have fallen to the wayside, but if I can get out of bed and just roll onto my mat, and before bed, roll onto my mat and roll into bed, we've made these things very simple for ourselves to bring nature into the home, to shift the nervous system. And when the nervous system shifts, that's really where the magic happens. Like, we become better humans when we are not running from these metaphorical tigers. We can think a better thought. We can take a deeper breath. Our body has the ability to, regenerate more effectively, because when we're in fight and flight and everything is constricted, we're not digesting food. We're not making babies. When, the body's like, hey, we need to like go climb a tree or dig a hole, it's not time to procreate. So all of these things don't happen as well in fight flight, regrowing hair, skin, nails, the list goes on. Again, it's not the mat that's healing you. It's just this beautiful tool that gives you an opportunity to take off this invisible armor and really relax. And we call it mat melts. You'll feel when you get on the mat, like literally, like your whole body is just like, oh, I could lay here forever. And it just kind of like hugs you.
Yeah, it does. And it goes through clothes, obviously. I mean, I experienced it with clothes on. So it's going to penetrate clothes. If you want to put like a little blanket over the mat to lay on, it penetrates that as well. There's no real barrier, correct?
Correct. So each of the cores, and there's 8 of them in the mat, arrayed in a way that are in alignment with your shoulders, waist, quads, and calves. So again, then we're talking about wrapping you in a bubble of these harmonizing frequencies. So as you're laying on the mat, these pulses and the pulse rate, you get to set your hertz. So you're seeing like, oh, I'm at that sleep frequency. So 1.2 hertz is equivalent to 1.2 pulses per second. So it comes out of the mat, goes through the body and back into the core. So it's sending these gentle waving frequencies into the body to shift the cells, to shift the nervous system, to go into that rest and digest mode. What's beautiful about our mat and technology is that you can match the frequency of where you're at. Say you had a super stimulating day and your nervous system is charged, like you were in the convention center, like we brought you up the frequency chain, met you where you were at that super stimulated level, which actually felt really yummy and delicious to you. And then we can walk you back to that 7.83, like that homeostasis point. It's really cool because it puts you in the driver's seat. Like you have the controller now where you're like, I don't know. Ooh, that feels good. Like you get to like really just play with this and find that really yummy and delicious frequency because you are a different person every time you meet your mat.
And I mean, the frequency list that you sent, there's really nothing that you can't find on here. Acne, Alzheimer's, angina. I mean, I'm just giving the big overview. This list is extensive. I'm not going to go through it all. Anxiety, Crohn's disease, like we talked about with the gut, erectile dysfunction, fibromyalgia, fractures, frozen shoulders, headaches. Hello. Joint dislocation, high blood pressure, low blood pressure, menstrual pain, menopause. MS. I mean, I'm just going through like the different letters: osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, phantom pain, psoriatic arthritis, psoriasis, Raynaud's, skin rashes. I mean, just wound healing. I mean, it's crazy. Swelling, edema, inflammation. There's not a symptom or a situation that you have that you can't match a frequency to assist you with.
We are living in a vibrational universe, and this is not Align Mat's research. This is actually studied, published, peer-reviewed PubMed research that's been available over the course of the last 60 years. So that list isn't something that we randomly just picked out of a hat. This is all from the published resources that are available that you can actually look up. And we provide it to people that purchase the mat as, education for them. So we're not telling you like, this may be associated with, well, hey, there's some research you can go do on this to see if that's going to work for you. Where Align really shines, being a low intensity device as well, is that you can utilize this multiple times per day. Like you said, with your back, you lay down it for an hour. If you're doing a normal session, it's 20 minutes on and it's 40 minutes off, and it just kind of runs on its own. But if you're working on something more acutely, you can lay on it for longer, and it's only going to be compoundingly beneficial. There's no risk of you like overpulsing yourself or actually like damaging yourselves because we're so disconnected from our environment. It's literally bringing the environment to you in your living room.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's heat. So that's really helpful too. And you even have a chart with the levels of heat as to, okay, do this if you're looking for detox. This is more for relaxation. This is more, I mean, that's pretty crazy too, because you can really keep the heat nice and low and just be all cozy and comfortable, or really jack it up and get in a sweat session when you're laying on the mat.
Yeah. So it's this, again, that we're talking about like a wavelength of heat. So infrared heat is in the bioresonant range, which is, again, really resonating with the frequency of our body. In the infrared range is into the upper mid and the lower far infrared range. So we're experiencing it as heat in the body. At those lower ranges, really great for, again, shifting the nervous system to help you feel super soothed and relaxed and calming the fascia and the muscle tissue and really allowing everything to relax and flow. As an, aside, like shorter durations of time when you want to pump that heat up, you can push a detoxification because the infrared heat does penetrate layers like 6 to 10 centimeters into the body to actually help detoxify. But majority, like if you wanted to use it, it's not like an infrared sauna in the sense where like, I want you dripping sweat on it because that's still like if you're like, oh, I'm trying to get a sweat session in, like it's not really that relaxing, calming yumminess that we're looking for. But you could do yoga on the mat. You don't have to, there's no like right or wrong way to do it. You could sit, you can lay, you can watch TV, you could fall asleep on it with the heat off. You could do yoga, you could throw a towel over it and actually get a solid sweat session in on it. So
That's
it's
true.
really like a multi-use, a multi-component therapeutic tool. So you have the stones, you have the heat, and you have the frequencies.
What is the difference? I'm sure you get asked this a lot. What is the difference between EMF exposure? Because now we have all of these different things in our environment to protect us from EMFs versus PEMF.
So a different frequency. So what's coming out of the wall in America is 60 hertz. Over in the UK, it's 50 hertz. So it's this AC current that's providing this dirty electricity that's really chaotic to our body and the cells in our body. So it ends up creating stress, which chemically cascading into our body increases our cortisol. We talked about oxidative damage, like rust to our cells. So it increases aging in the body. So it's just a different frequency. So the earth, again, predominantly at those lower level frequencies, our body was able to uptake and utilize and was familiar with. All of these non-native frequencies are just something that it's so new for our bodies to navigate that it's causing all incidents of damage. We want to have a bubble from it. And when we created our device, we completely shielded it. So yes, you plug it into the wall, but that plug is grounded. So you have the grounding plug at the bottom.
Yep.
The cord is all completely shielded from EMF. So there's a specific fiber like that acts like a Faraday cage around it. So it's not emitting any of those negative frequencies. The controller has a signal generator in it, so it's changing that frequency. So when it's delivered into the mat, it's not delivering just that 60 hertz wave that it's just like opening and closing. It's actually modulating the frequencies. So you're only getting those harmonizing frequencies. And that's why you feel so relaxed. Okay. I'll give your listeners an example. Like when you're in a car and it's winter and you turn the seat heater on, I depending on how sensitive they are, I used to love the seat heater, but now it like feels like I have anxiety. Like I can turn that on and that heat comes on and it's literally because it's pumping out so many harmful EMFs. It just like, I'm like shaking. I don't know how to explain it any different. And some people may have had that experience and never equated it to that. Cause I'm like, why do I feel like on edge? And like, maybe it's because I'm defensive driving or whatever, but yeah, it's just pumping all of those negative frequencies into the body. Or if you've ever been by one of, those towers, you can just feel, and the best way to say it, it's just like an energy flowing through the body. It just makes your chest tighter, your breath shorter, and you're just almost shaking. Your heart beats faster because it's constricting everything. So it's having a physiological response to our nervous system that we're equating to like, oh, maybe I'm just stressed, or, it's not even like a logical thought. It's just happening.
So if we are, let's say, I mean, as I am right now, computer, phone, lights, monitor. So I am being literally bombarded with EMFs right now. If you work in an office, if you are under any kind of lights, if you drive an electric car, you are literally in a microwave. Okay. So really, who isn't being bombarded by EMFs these days? I don't think anyone escapes it, right?
Honestly, I mean, even just not having exposure to the devices that we're bringing into our homes. Yes, because of all of these towers that they've put up around us now. If you're in any major city, it's literally, you have your Wi-Fi routers in your home. We have all of our devices, and then those are creating the extra, like it's like a blanket of these negative frequencies. So the more that people can get out in nature, get off rubber-soled shoes, that you can ground your body, the better off you'll be. And that is all free and available. Again, I think it's essential for people to start bringing these tools into their home that helps their body shift and helps release some of this static energy that we're basically collecting in our cells if you don't have time to get out. What we as practitioners have always been a proponent of is keeping a white space in your bedroom at night. So keeping the bedroom for sleeping and intimacy, but having your devices at least a minimum of 2 feet away from your body. So nowhere near your head, especially. If you can turn off the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth, but leave the cellular on. And we actually put our phones on airplane mode, but like at the farthest point in the room away from us, We don't have the Wi-Fi router anywhere near the bedroom. We don't have a TV in the bedroom. So like watch TV and then go to your room and go to sleep. So you're just trying, like when you're sleeping, when you're in that delta brainwave state, that is when the body repairs and rejuvenates and heals most effectively. So if we can lower this exposure to these negative EMFs as much as possible, the better that we're going to perform, because we're going to sleep better, we're going to feel better when we wake up. You have more energy, less fatigue, all things.
Yep. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I put my phone in a Faraday bag right next to me, as well as turn off the Wi-Fi. So all the little things that you can do. And then as you were talking too, I also thought about the whole, I don't go, I like to say I'm a biohacker and go outside and get sunlight during the day and step on the grass in the morning. I rarely do. I mean, it just is. It's a time thing. It really is. But then there's also the climate thing. So I only have about maybe 4 months out of the year that I actually could do that. Outside of that, it's too damn cold or there's snow on the ground. So I'm not going to go outside in my bare feet and stand on the ground. So I think having, like you said, bringing the tools into our house and being able to use them on the daily, that's what's really going to protect us from the you can't stop it technology that just keeps increasing. I mean, now we're in 5G and we got the 5G towers and the 5G phones. And I mean, it just keeps getting worse. It's not getting better. It's not going to get better at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
So understanding that being of the mind, control what you can and let the rest go, because this is the control center, right? What the mind believes, the body achieves downstream. So it's like, understand that these things are coming down the pike. That, be it as it may, you're not going to stop that, but having tools. So like all of this, like, let's say negative, I don't like saying negative and positive, but all of these things that like cause DNA damage over here, what do you have that's going to bolster the immune system, help your body perform that it's best, help you sleep, help you repair, and do all of those things. So it's like, we have technology on the one side, but we are also creating technology on the other side that's going to be beneficial for us. So I think that we have to have both. It's really not an all or nothing conversation anymore, because it's going to keep happening.
Well, and I'll even speak to kind of the poo-pooers or the naysayers like my husband. So he would be the one that would be like, what? That's horseshit. My parents grew up fine. You didn't see them laying on mats and going into saunas and cold plunges. They didn't live in the same world, honey. They didn't live in the same world. We are in a completely different world right now, being bombarded with probably 70% more shit, chemicals, toxins, EMFs, I mean, than our parents did, easily that much more. So we have to use these tools that are being developed by companies like yourself and by brilliant minds like yours to help us, to protect us. Otherwise, it's just going to be a shit show. I mean, I really think we're already seeing cancer starting earlier and earlier in people through, sometimes by choice, injecting ourselves with something that causes cancer. But also, we're just seeing more and more cancers in general because of the world we're in. It just is.
So back to that conversation, right? Cancer is damaged cells. Cancer is an immune system that's underactive. So how do we give the body more energy and more ability to, again, heal itself? So I'm not saying it's just a device like ours, but giving yourself the opportunity and the realization that just as much as cells can metastasize and you can have malfunctioning cells replicating, we have healthy and beautiful new cells. And I think that's a really liberating thought. People don't think about that. You think about it maybe at the point of conception, but that's happening every moment and every day, that we're having beautiful, brand new, healthy cells. So believe in that reality and that future for yourself. Like, you have everything that you need right here, right now, in this moment, to be healthy, to heal yourself. And we don't need to look to every expert outside of ourselves for those answers. And I know we kind of want to attach to that because, again, it's a conditioned belief. But if I had stayed on that path, I might not be here today, because Western medicine, it has its place and it's done an amazing things for acute trauma. But for my chronic issues, they didn't have answers for me.
Yeah.
But it also took me believing in my own wellness and my deserving to be here and to be well and to share this message that I actually had to believe in. I had to believe I could get well. And I had to seek those answers out for myself. So for anyone that might be in a healing crisis right now, realize that no one's walked a moment in your shoes, and nor could they. Like, you are the infinite creator right here, right now, in this body and this being, and no one's going to know you better than you know yourself. So the mat I bring it back there because it helps people stop. Like we say, just take 5, right? Like it helps people stop long enough. And when the nervous system shifts, when they slow down, you can think a better thought. You can take a deeper breath. You can slow it down. So it gives your body the opportunity to not be running from a five alarm alert. And I don't have to teach anyone how to meditate or to do breath work. They don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to book an appointment. You can bring this into your home and take time to honor yourself.
Yes, I
And
love that you
combat.
said that because I don't meditate or do breath work either. I ain't got time. So I'm so happy you said that. Full disclosure, full disclosure, I just don't. It's a great idea. It's a fantastic concept. I'll do yoga, but I do not, my mind races. I don't meditate or do breath work, but I will lay on the mat. So that is
Yoga's,
my contribution to myself.
you could do yoga on the mat. It's a moving meditation, right? You're moving the energy through your body. But yeah, like you can watch, like you said, you have it on the chase, you watch TV, like you're still getting these frequencies into your body that are helping you be a better, more resilient human being.
Yeah.
Without you having to think about it. It's funny because you'll get on the mat and we have people that'll like go into a lucid sleep and the cycles run in 20 minutes, right? And if they're not fully out, which a lot of people just, because your body just wants to sleep and it wants to repair itself. So a lot of people do fall asleep. And if you snore, we always like candid camera, we'll put you on our social media. But a lucid sleep, it's hilarious. The cycles will turn off. So it'll hit 20 minutes, the frequencies turn off and people's eyes will pop open. They're like, how long have I been out?
Oh, yeah.
It's why it's like, they're like, oh, I'm recharged.
Yep.
Like, it's not a logical thing. It just, the cells know you respond to this energy.
Yeah. Well, like we were talking about earlier, our dear friend Ben Greenfield was wiped out on the mat. He fell hard asleep. Didn't even know where he was when he woke up. So
No worries. It was amazing. And I think that's exactly what he needed to have happen. Because just as you mentioned, like y'all were speaking, you're on your feet all day, you're constantly be bombarded with other people's energies. It's a lot to be at a conference and to be on all the time. So grateful that we had the opportunity to be invited to be there and could share this tool and help so many people over the course of that weekend. It was really special.
well, I am so, so happy that I ran into you, experienced it, got to know you, have a mat of my own now. I love it. I love it. So for the listeners now, like I said, I'm not telling you to buy the mat, but I'm telling you to buy the mat because I believe in it. I've noticed the difference. I do not fall into the woo category. I would say it's really hard to convince me of woo stuff until I feel it. But this isn't woo. This is based on the Schumann resonance and the frequencies that we know, like you said, that are all on that list. They've been studied, they've been researched. This has been researched for 100 years. So it's not really woo, but my point is until I experience it, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm in. I love it. And I do. I'm in. I love it. I love it. So for our listeners, you are offering $100 off a mat if they use the code Dr. Amy. We'll put the link, we'll put the code in the show notes. Don't worry, you don't have to remember it. But thank you for doing that as well, because I want to get this into the hands of as many people as possible.
I want people to experience this for themselves and their own body, and just for your listeners to know as well. It's a 30-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee. So we've had 0 returns to date since we launched the company, if that speaks anything to the nature of the quality of the product that we wanted to produce in the market space and the intentionality that my husband and I had in producing it. So really excited for people to experience it in their own body and give us the feedback that they're having, because again, everyone is different. So that's like, the feedback that we get is why we continue to do this and share this. And it's been such a special journey.
That's so awesome. I love that you offer that guarantee too, because that really helps people to take that next step and not be scared. Like, ooh, what if it doesn't work for me? But like you said, nobody's returned it anyways, but at least that option is there. So it's really a no-brainer to try it out.
And we're always available too. Like you talk directly to
Yes.
Mike, myself, or someone on our team that talks directly to us every single day. So there is always that you have an interaction with us, and our intention and our heart shines through everything. So if there's any questions that anyone has on setup, best frequencies, I know you just talked about a lot of that frequency list is really intense. If anyone has any specific questions to things that they're dealing with, that's what we're here for. We're practitioners too, so we get it.
Yep. Yeah, you're in it too. Absolutely. And you've been through your own thing. So Alyssa, thank you so much for your time today. And you've taught me. So I've learned even more about the frequencies and everything that we really need to be doing for our body. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me today. Beautiful speaking with you.